Hello Piglet users. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how you can import glTF animations in the editor, how you can preview those animations in the editor, and how you can play those animations back in runtime scripts. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to Sketchfab and download an example model. So I've already selected a model with an animation for this tutorial. Search for Cartoon Hartman and select this Army Sergeant model. Now click the Download 3D Model link. Select the glTF format. Save file. That's quite a long file name, so I'm just going to shorten it so it's easier to work with. Okay, so I have my download directory on the left in Windows Explorer, and I can see that the zip file for the model has already completed downloading. So going back to Unity then, I'm in Unity 2018.4 with a new empty project. When you create a new project, you probably won't have this plugins folder. That's just something that's put there by my code editor, so don't worry about that. So since we have an empty project, the first thing that we need to do is install Piglet. The normal way to do this, of course, is from the Unity Asset Store. But in my case, since the version of Piglet that I'm demonstrating is not on the Asset Store yet, I'm going to install it from this Unity package file instead. Okay, Piglet's finished installing and it's added the Piglet folder under Assets. So now we should be able to import the model just by dragging the zip file from Windows Explorer and into the project browser window. Great, so if we switch to the scene view, we can see that the model has been imported. Since this model has animations, there's a animation subdirectory, so we'll go into that. And we'll see there's a controller asset here. I'll explain what that's for in a couple of minutes. And we also have a couple of files which are animation clips. We have static pose and take 001. So take 001 is the actual animation from the glTF file. And static pose is a special animation that's generated by Piglet. And the purpose of that animation is just to reset the model to its default pose. So if we select the take 001 animation clip, an animation preview area comes up on the right side. But we see this message that says no model is available for preview. So what we have to do is go to the parent directory and drag and drop the prefab for the model onto that area. Now we'll be able to click play and see the animation. So that's how we preview animations in the editor. So now I'll move on to showing you how we can start the animation playing from a runtime script. So we're going to go back to the default scene, which is called sample scene, and we're going to drag the prefab for the model into that scene. So if we look at it from the game view, we see that we only see a part of the model, a small part of the model, and that's because the model is much too big. So to fix that, I'm going to change the scale on the root game object from 1 to 0.2. Much better. Okay, I'm going to save the scene now. Okay, so we've got the root game object for the model selected, and we can see that Piglet adds a couple of animation-related components to this game object. The main component that we're going to be interested in is Animator. This is Unity's component for playing back Mechanim animation clips. The other component is called Animation List, and this is simply an ordered list of the animation clips that were imported from the glTF file. This component is provided by Piglet, and we'll see why it's useful when we go to write our script in a few minutes. So going back to the animator component, for those of you that aren't overly familiar with Unity's Mechanim animation system, I just want to say a few more words about how the animator component works. So as we can see here, the animator has a field called controller, and what that is a state machine that describes which animation clips will be played and the transitions between them. So I'm going to double click that to open it and show you what it looks like. So this is the state machine that Piglet creates, and it's got 4 states. 2 of these states correspond to the animation clips. So we have static pose and take 001. If we click on take 001, for example, we'll see in the motion field that it actually links to the animation clip. So that's how those 2 things are connected. The other 2 states in the state machine are special states that are present in every controller. So we have the any state and the entry state. We won't be using the any state, but just in case you're curious, the any state is used to define transitions that apply to all states in the state machine. The entry state, as you may have guessed, is the default starting state for the state machine. So in this state machine, we have one transition that goes from the entry state to the take 001 state. We won't actually need any transitions in this state machine for our purposes. All we're going to do in our runtime script that plays the animation is select the state that we want and start the animation playing. So the Mechanim animation system can be a bit overwhelming for people that are just learning about it. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of different things that it can do. So if you're interested in learning more about it, I highly recommend a series of videos on Unity Learn called Controlling Animations. It provides a really nice and concise introduction to what the Mechanim system can do and how you use it. That said, if you don't want to use the Mechanim animation system and you prefer to use the older legacy animation system, that's possible as well. So the way that you would do that is in the Unity menu, you would go to Window, Piglet Options, and under Animation Clip Type, change it from Mechanim to Legacy. So I'm not going to describe how to use the legacy animation system in this video, but I have another video, the Piglet runtime animation tutorial, in which I do describe how to use the legacy animation system. So check that out if you're interested. So I'm just going to set this back to Mechanim, and we'll carry on then. So now it's time to write our script. So I'm going to create a new folder under Assets called Scripts. And I'll create a new C# script by right-clicking, going to Create C# script. I'm going to call it Animation Behavior. And I'll double-click on that script to open it in the editor. The first thing that we want to do is add using Piglet to the top of the file. Now, Unity creates 2 methods for us by default. However, we're going to do everything that we need to do in start, so I can just delete the update method. In start, we want to get a handle to that animator component that I was talking about. And we want to start the animation going by calling its play method. So if we look at the signatures for the play method, They all basically take a state name and a layer. So I haven't mentioned layers, but animator controllers can have layers, and they're used for blending animations. However, in our case, since we just have the default layer, we just need to put in 0 for that argument. I'll put a placeholder for state name for now, and I'll put 0 for the layer. So how do we get that state name? This is where the animation list component comes in handy. So we can get the state name from that. Recall that the animation list has an ordered list of animation clips, and so we can just access the clip that we want by the index, and then the state name is the name field for that particular clip. You may wonder why I'm using index 1 here, and it's because index 0 is always used for that special static pose clip that I was mentioning earlier. So the real animations from the glTF file always start at index 1. So that concludes the code that we need to write to start the animation going. So now if we attach this script to our model and click play, we should see the model animating. So going back to Unity then, I'm going to switch to the game view, select the root game object of the model, attach our script by clicking Add Component and selecting Animation Behavior. Save the scene, and now click Play. And so we see it playing the animation just like we wanted. So that concludes the editor animation tutorial. Thanks very much.